it's a great opportunity. I'm very happy to be here. Let's see if I'm able to share my screen. So there we are. Okay, so hopefully that is visible, and if not, then I'm sure Tim will help me. So I'm going to talk about disinformation with a kind of slightly cryptic undertitle. Is it a subtitle? Is it who said it, or is it what it says? Because that's one of the things I want to talk about. And I'm also giving an update on the European disinformation policy. Then we go on to reflect on some other things. So now this is not working. Yeah. So about disinformation, first a few words of why it is so dangerous. We know that that's more or less in the recent events, but some words about that. Then what the European Commission is doing, and then about disinformation. Is it what, or is it about who? So why we are worried, as we have seen lately, disinformation can be incredibly powerful. It can be incredibly powerful and dangerous. And two aspects that kind of add to that. One is that in the current world, pictures speak so much more. Pictures speak more than 1,000 words. In a picture or a film, you reach people with the short time span, short attention span that we have these days. And if those pictures are about something or someone we know, they speak even more. And that is how our attention is kind of built. So we do have lots of means to detect disinformation. There are all kinds of fact checkers. There are all kinds of tools to look at the source code, etc. The problem is that it's mostly too late when we react, when we want to correct it. The information has gone, the attention has gone, and the corrective information is not interesting. So the picture, film, deepfake, or whatever it is, something that links to your emotions, it has done its job, it's gone, it has spread. So just an example of how extremely easy it is to spread disinformation. So here we have a beautiful view from the Point Bonita or thereabout, from San Francisco and Golden Gate Bridge. But what happens now? They've stolen our bridge. And then let's put the bridge back and be a bit more serious. They are here. And this is incredibly easy to do. And it can be, if we think about this picture, it's kind of stupid here, but look at it. If it would be on Twitter, even this little image done in just a few minutes for this presentation, it could potentially spread. If it goes to the right people with the right hashtags, etc., this can happen and it can have consequences. I just need to adapt my screen a bit. Voila. Okay, so how did it come to that? How did disinformation take over? And I think one of the things is that we really do like to believe. I mean, my generation was taught to believe in the printed word. What we see is true. It's very difficult now to do the teaching kind of contrary. We cannot believe what we see. We should not believe. And the other aspect is that it's so easy, like I just showed. There are endless possibilities for creativity. We can do text, sound, photo, video, and it all can be false and it all can be impactful. So the challenge is really to know when to believe. And the advice often given is sources, context, collaboration with fact checkers, but it is often a question of whom we believe in. So disinformation is fascinating. Online, it can spread fast and far. And so why is it so efficient? It is because it's emotional. Sharing is often emotional. We are worried, or we want to kind of continue sharing from somebody we know, or it's just outrageous and we like to kind of share that forward. Another thing why it's so efficient is I really like this concept of 6 degrees of separation. I presume many of you know it. It's a note written by a person whose name I don't try to pronounce, Frigyes Karinti, maybe incorrect. In 29, he wrote a text called Change. And the proposition was that everybody can be linked to everybody else by 6 degrees of separation. Okay, by then there were like 2 billion people in the world. Now there are 2.9 billion active users of Facebook. In average, these users have 338 friends. Now, of those friends, if I send something that every single person in that chain shares only with 1/10 or a bit less, 1/9, 38 new friends, in 6 degrees, we do cover the whole Facebook. So the conclusion is that disinformation can spread extremely efficiently if we want it to. So here I am sharing this outrageous piece of news just to my best friends, and it goes 3rd degree, 4th, 5, 6, and voila, it's a whole Facebook can be covered. That is why it's so efficient. And things that are spread are those that look nice, look interesting, that are outrageous and scandalous. So that is kind of the core of the problem. That's why it's so difficult. So then I'll say a few words about what the European Commission's approach has been. Now, we in the European Commission have called this phenomenon disinformation. I know here the expression used is misinformation, but it's more or less the same thing. And disinformation is divided into harmless, harmful, and illegal content. In harmless, we have things which are kind of just ignorance, stupidity, not too great, sarcastic, some personal issues, just some annoying issues. Generally, let's say not harmful, not grossly harmful, although can be quite annoying. On what is considered harmful, the first thing is intention. So they are intentional, they are done for a purpose, they are shared for a purpose, for money, for power, for political gain, or for disruption. Something that is clearly harmful, but it's not illegal. And this is exactly where the problem lies with disinformation. Then there's illegal content, terrorism, child porn, other crime, incitement to violence, part of war. And with these illegal, there's a law to take down, and there's a timing of how soon takedown has to be done. So that is not what we are currently focusing on. We are in fact looking at the part which is harmful, where we cannot say that according to this law, you need to take this down, but we still want it to be taken down. So this is what we are working on. So why don't we just take it down? It is complicated, but we do what we can in Europe. So we invite stakeholders like platforms, advertisers to take measures, prioritize verified content, promote fact-checked information, and then in such cases as COVID, as we saw that happened very well, we inform effectively about disinformation. At the personal level, we invite citizens to think twice, to realize that what is online is not true, potentially, and to be aware and to actually think themselves. We did see some advancement on this in the European Parliament election. People were more aware that some of the claims might not be true. And it is, all of this is complicated, so we cannot take down, because we do value our freedom of expression and information very much. It's the same as in the US. That's one of your kind of basic values. As part of the European Convention of Human Rights, the freedom of expression and information says that everyone has the right to freedom of expression. And this right shall include a freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas without interference by public authority. and that the freedom and pluralism of media shall be respected. This is great, but it does also mean that in my ignorance and in my willfulness, maybe, I have the right to express my views, how stupid that view might be. So the question is how to eradicate disinformation without breaching against the freedom of expression. And that is the kind of balancing that we are looking at all the time. But I'm glad to say that when it becomes too dangerous, we do act. For example, now Russia Today and Sputnik are closed in Europe due to dangerous disinformation about the Ukrainian war. That can have very harmful content, and that can be dangerous, that can lead to loss of lives. So this is important. And we continuously also discuss with the platforms to make sure that they will not provide another access to these instruments. In general, Commission works on disinformation, against disinformation, sorry, on several fronts. There are continuous campaigns against the European Commission, European Union, its values, and the whole project, and member states. And there are active task forces to cope with that disinformation and to reveal it and advise about it. It's basically then set on Commission websites, as well as the External Action Service has a task force specifically focused on Russian external disinformation and propaganda, which we are debunking and we are posting online. And naturally, all the different parts, because the European Commission has separate departments for basically all parts of life. There's health-related disinformation, disinformation about elections, about education needs for combating disinformation, etc. Those are all dealt with. And what we are dealing with in my unit is the disinformation policy. What is the online policy for disinformation tackling? And here shortly what we do. In 2018, we published a Commission communication, which is not a legislative instrument, but it gives suggestions for action that are normally taken up through further legislation or other actions for the European Parliament and Council. And this was called Tackling Online Disinformation, a European Approach. And it drew up 4 main lines of action. A code of practice by social media and advertisement industry, fact checkers. This was to create a European network for fact checkers. Media literacy, promoting European initiatives, and then support the research on how to combat disinformation. And a lot has happened since on these. This code of practice was drawn up by platforms and advertising industry. And it includes a reporting to the Commission by platforms about what actions they have done and how they are progressing, how many fake websites have been taken down, etc. More transparency to political advertisement, a fake website takedown. It has now become wider. For example, TikTok and some other new platforms have signed into this code of practice. And it's included in the communication on the European Democracy Action Plan, and it will be taken into account in further legislation. Fact checkers was quite developed here in the USA, but not so much in Europe. And we have done quite a lot of work to kind of create collaboration between fact checkers. Europe is different from the US because it has 21 different official languages already in the European Union. Collaboration is quite important because disinformation knows no borders. So EDMO is a European Digital Media Observatory where funding is provided for fact checkers and researchers in the area of disinformation. Lately, national hubs had been added to that. So the last I checked, there were 7 countries who have their own national hubs to focus on these areas. and we aim to cover the whole European Union. Media literacy is an area where we've been funding in the Commission for quite a long time already. There are a lot of great initiatives in member states. What we want to do now is build on that experience, share across linguistic, state and cultural borders, already well-working approaches, take into account new media, because media is changing, so media literacy has to change. And then last but not least, the area where I was in charge, support to research, which is looking at social media, artificial intelligence in social media, and ways to tackle disinformation. And there are two funding instruments called Horizon Europe and Digital Europe, where funding for these are provided. So we have ongoing and upcoming projects. Here are some milestones, which I'm not going to dwell on, but feel free to contact me later if you want to know more about the legislative or the kind of a formal process. I already said that the code of practice is an instrument drafted by the platforms themselves. It's voluntary. And there are, you see here, a number of signatories in it. And indeed, it looks into how the online world could be better and more trustworthy through ensuring integrity of the services and disrupting negative false advertising. And it has more, let's say, the platforms commit to more collaboration with fact checkers and academic researchers. One thing that is always a challenge with everybody, which everybody knows who's been working with the platforms, to get access to their data. There's some advancement, some development on that too, which we are working hard on. Just for information that there are some research projects which are ongoing, referring to the research funding. And I will only say about these projects that they focus on different aspects of a verification of content and finding solutions to combat disinformation. And also feel free to contact me if you want more information on those, because I'm conscious of the time. So as a conclusion, Europe has made a difference. Citizens are more aware. There is actually less disinformation, although ample amounts still remain and come new. The policies by advertisers and platforms are more careful, so we are happy about that. So we do a lot of good work. But why is it not working better, faster? So is there something that is missing? And now I'm going to the last part of this presentation, which I'm very interested in myself. It's about tribes. And while that seems to be kind of a funny jump, I think a lot of what happens online is about tribes, or I mean, loosely defining that word, because we want to belong. We need a place to belong to. Before we belonged to our villages, good or bad, but they were our framework. And nowadays, that belonging may be something which is online, our tribe, family, or cult. At the same time as we want to belong, we are suspicious of those that we don't know, that we don't belong with. At some time, we had to be careful. I mean, Neanderthals were big and furry and scary. Sometimes still there is need to be afraid, as we know. But often those people, those others, are just people who look, sound, or act different. And I think part of the problem is this: we need to belong somewhere. We trust in that, we commit to that, and we are suspicious of those who don't. So belonging online, what I mean with that is it can be a political, religious, ideological, patriotic, criminal. It can be a lot of different groups, but it's a group where we kind of fulfill the need that this is our group, this is where I'm at home. It can be a tribe of friends, like-minded, or family, which is great. But the problem here is that information is spread merely because the sender is one of us, one of my tribe. And sometimes that's all it takes. And we are not too worried if it's disinformation, and sometimes it can be harmful. So we love to belong to our tribes. These young people have been very proud to belong to their tribe. There are other tribes these days. Sometimes this has been called a cult, called Putinism. A lot of people believe in Putin. And we will see eventually, will extreme actions by the leader break the cult? It seems maybe not, but we live in hope. So on this cults online, tribes online, now we post and like and share because we have found those like-minded people and leaders to follow. And it's so great to be part of a community. And it's great to be understood and to share ideas. Here we have guys who love soccer and can talk endlessly about it because the other ones want to talk about it too. Or pregnant ladies bonding, or we want to make an impact on environment. But then it's great, but we have a problem when that sharing or liking becomes kind of a membership fee. That's the way that's how you pay to belong. And when the who sends becomes more important than content, and the tribe's opinions become my opinions, or the tribe is unhealthy or unethical, and it enforces it in me. So all these soccer players say that we don't accept this anymore, right, guys? Or the pregnant ladies share information about something which might not be healthy. Or the environment enthusiastic is just tweets something because it was from a person that she admires. So this is when disinformation may spread, not because we want to spread disinformation, but because we don't care what it is about. We care about the sender, and we care that he's one of us and what he means for us. So kind of very trivially, we have this beautiful young leader who says that we have discovered the meaning of life, universe, and everything. And everybody who has read Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy knows that it's, of course, 42. So it's great, fantastic. Now we know I will share and you will like me. But if it's somebody else that we don't know, 42, that's ridiculous. Besides, as if I would believe you because you're not one of us. The thing is that what is said doesn't matter. It is who says it. It can be the same thing, but we care if it's said by somebody that we feel that belong with. So this is just trivially the same thing. A person says rather outrageously that he has created the first general AI. And one person says that you're so clever, wow. And the other one just says, seriously? So this lovely picture reminds you that I'm a mathematician, and it's totally unclear, but I still want to show it. It's the people are divided into two axes. So the top axis, the vertical axis, says how much content matters in percentage to you. And the other axis says how much who is sending it matters to you. So if I say here that here's a person in the top X here who thinks that content matters rather a lot, but somehow it's interesting also who sent it. So the question could be, how interesting, my friend, but are you sure it's true? Well, the same stuff would go to somebody who doesn't care so much about content and cares a bit about who sent it. Yeah, sure, well, whatever, I guess it's true as he said it. But the third one, who is, how would I say, is interested, is fascinated about people, would say that a post from him about something, that's great, not caring what the something is. And why I think this graph is important is that all the focus in all the actions that are being done, that focus is here. It is on the content. But does it make a difference here with the people for whom the context is more important than the content? And here we do have a problem with these people for whom the content means very little, but the person means a lot. And an example of this could be, let's say, some radical political or religious leaders. And I think we need to do something about this. I think it's very interesting that the actions do not reach these people. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you. And here is my email address, and also a link to the blog that I have written about this. So happy to hear your comments.